Gaurang Jai 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 Ho. Sham Sharadavam Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadavam Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gurunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Praptasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Charanarabindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Mahaprabhu ki Gita Vaditramadhyam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanma Niramajanado Juktasya Bhaktamsa Neyunjatapi Vande Guru Shri Charanarabindam Neyunjatapi Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satmana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satmana Triptan Krita eva tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Shiradikama Gabayara Para Madhura Leela Gunarupa Namna Shiradikama Madhura Leela Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalopasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Ne kunjayono ratikeli siddhai Jayali bhiri jukti apekshaneya Ne kunjayono ratikeli siddhai Jayali bhiri jukti Tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Sakshadhari Dena Shamasta Shashri Ruktastatha Bhavyataiva Sadhavi Sakshadhari Dena Shamasta Shastri Uktastatha Bhavyataiva Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yayam Stubham Tasya Yasastrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Yayam Stubham Tasya Yasastrin Sandhyam Yayam Stubham Tasya Yasastrin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shastri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityana Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatare Shatadine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatare Shatadine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaye Keshavaye Namah Gopal Govindaram Shimadusudam Giridhari Gopina Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhava, Radhe Radha Nila Madhava, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra, Baladeva Subhadra, Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Sitaram, Sitaram, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Pramanande, Haribo, Jaya Vishnupada Paramsa Prabhajakacharya, Ashtotara Sarasishimadi Skon Pratishta, Bhiviti Samstapakachar Vaishnav Sramani, Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prema Bhakti Patita Pavana, His Divine Grace Abhacharvina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai, Shri Gauriya Guru Vargapati Udhari Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai, Jayananta Koti Vaishnavrendi Ki Jai, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। जय परम दयाल से नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन के जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन स्मन गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावर नायावतार की जय। गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरिनाम संकीर्तन जय की जय। युग धर्म हरि कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहदांग ट्रांसलेट और बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपना राधा कुंज सम कुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। टेलर शिव श्री राधा नीला माधव की जय। श्री मैं पूर्णवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम कित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशना कनिशिंगरे भगवान की जय। जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंदी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमती राधारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे हरिबो। All glory to the assembly bodies. All glory to the assembly bodies. All glory to the assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Narada Haine. Prahlada Narada Haine. Hiranyakashipu Bhaksha. Hiranyakashipu Bhaksha. Silatankanaka laye. Ito nishingo parato nishingo. Jato jato jamitato nishingo. Bahir nishingo hrudaye nishingo. Narasimha madhime sharana prapade. Tabakara kamala bare naka Arabota Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanabringa Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadishare Tabakara kamala bare naka arvata singha dalita hiranyakashipu tanabringa kesavadrita narahari rupa Jai Jagadishare Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Kesavadita Narari Rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Kesavadita Narari Rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Jaya Nishingade, Jaya Nishingade, Nishingade, Jaya Nishingade. Jaya Narahari, Jaya Narahari, Narahari, Jaya Narahari. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Bhakta Prahlad, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhakta Prahlad, Srila Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. जय श्री श्री भक्ति पद सर्वविघ्नाश नकनिश्चिंगरे भगवान की जय। हे भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज, निताय गौरारी प्रेम नंदे, हरि हरि बोल। Shri Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devi Priyaye Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki. Preyasi Krishna, Preyasi Nama Namaha.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eyabhilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eyabhilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi.
Jito Mara Sharanalo Tara Pancha Purana Ho
Jai Tumhara Sharanala Tara Vancha Puna.
Kripa Kori Koro Tare Vrindavan Vasi
Tumi kripa kore kara tare Vrindavana vasi.
Morae Abhilash Vilas Kunje Diyo Vas
Moraye Vilas Kunje Diyava.
Nayane Harivo Sada Jugal Ruparasi
Aminayane Revo Sada Jugala Luparasi.
Ini Vedana Dharo Sakiranugata Koro
Ei Nivedana Dhara Sakiranugata Koro.
Sevadhikara Diye Koro Nijadasi
Sevayadi Kara Diye Koro Nijadasi.
Dina Krishna Dase Koe Namora Hoe
Dina Krishna Dase Ko Hey Namara.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Nabhasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Nabhasi
Ami Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Nama Namaha.
Yani Gani Cha Papani Brahma Hatyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradikshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahmatari Kani Sa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Gani Cha Papani Brahma Hatyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradikshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahmatari Kani Sa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Gani Cha Papani Brahma Hatyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradikshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahmatari Kanisa, Tanitani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pare Pare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Brinda Devi, Jaya Brinda Devi, Brinda Devi, Jaya Brinda Devi.
Nityai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nityai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय.
Jai. Shri Vrindayai Tulasi Bai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Bai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Bai Priyayai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Pradidevi Shatavatai Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Brinda Devi ki jai. O Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavana. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavitams of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govind. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam ki jai. Chaito Darpana Marjana Bhavamada Vagninivapanam Shayakari Vachandika Vitaranam Vidya Badho Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Tadiparam Punamrita Sadhanam Savatmasnam Param Param Jayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Baudha Ida Sarvashakti Ratratitlanita Shmane Nakala Ita Kripaya Bhagavan Mamati Durdhaivam Idisham Ya Janina Nuraga Linarapi Sunichena Karorapi Saishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Sadanam Najanam Sundarim Kavitam Vajagadishaka Maye Mama Janmane Janmaneshwari Bhavatar Bhakti Raituki Tui Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Paritama Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galara Shrudharaya Vadanam Gadagadharudhaya Gira Urakaini Chitam Vapukada Tavanamagrane Bhavishyati Juga itam nimishena chakshusha prarusha itam shunya itam jagata sarvam govinda virahiname aslishva padaratam pinastumam adarshanan vanmahatam karotuva jata tathava vidadhatulam pato matpranatastu saivana paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai Namo Varanaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Guru Tveshe Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutarishmad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharya Vishesha Sundari Pasha Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This
Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables one to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, think oneself to the street, or sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj, Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs on my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall reign, so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavali Paskati Desatani. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their lives to propagating the holy names of the Lord. To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent names of Lord Vishnu. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities or karma kanda. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. To not have complete faith in chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava is carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vanucharani Visesa Sunyamani Paskatya Desatharane. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganyati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pachakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradam Sahagana Lalita Shri Visaka Nivitam Sa Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namini Shivar Savanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhakti Da Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasidanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Pradambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitanandanamine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Vir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Sri Jagannathayate Namaha Mansakalpaturabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Akam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Mandamate Gati Matsarva Swapadambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vinduranya Kalpadurmada Hashimad Ratnagara Shrimad Nastito Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasara Sarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venus Vanir Gopir Gopinatakstriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Brahma Samiti Ki Jai. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radha Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakadasadma Sukalpa Riksha Laksha Vritesu Surabhira Vipaliantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kwanandam Atarinda Dalayataksam Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi Rantam Gadam Pranayakili Kalabilasam Shamam Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Pantikayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manasomari Pungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatve Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kotim Yas Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yamat Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanihana Bhusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Praktastuvanti Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Pratibhabitabris Yabir Yaeva Nicharupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatistan Nanavataram Makarod Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti Kotishva Sesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Benam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Sesha Bhutam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Visaya Vida Vitaya Manam Sadva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasuya Praninam Patifanam Smaratam Upetya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jayaya Jasram Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Talechita Shadevi Mahesu Haridama Suteshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nijaya Vitascha Yena Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Shistista Tipralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Jaya Vyasya Bhuvanani Vivarti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chitesta Tesa Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesi Yoga Sanjaya Tena Hitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasam Bhutam Apitata Samapaitikaya Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Departure Devi Hita Santanam Abhyupetya Dipaya Devi Vita Hita Samanu Dharma Yastadri Gevi Hitcha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narla Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagananda Saroma Kupa Adhara Saktim Avalambya Param Smamurtim Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagananda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Seso Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesa Nijesu Teja Swayam Kiyat Pakatiyat Apitadva Tatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidanu Karta Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Kanadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Agni Mahika Ganamambu Maruti Sasya Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Yasyagaya Brahmati Sambrita Kalachakro Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutestapam Se Brahma Dikita Patagava Tehasta Jiva Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakatapa Bhava Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastrinda Gopam Atavendra Mahoswa Karma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdhati Kintu Jabhakti Bhajam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Kroda Kamasa Chapranayadi Bitti Vatsaya Moha Gurgo Gaurava Sevya Bhava Sanchintitashi Sadrisim Tanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamahambujam Shia Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpatara Dumabu Mishchitamani Ganama Yetu Amamritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriya Sakichiranandam Chuti Param Apita Daswatyam Apicha Sayatra Shirade Vidisha Vati Shurabi Vyascha Sumahan Nimesa Dakyo Vavrajitina Hiatra Pisamaya Baje Svita Duvantamham Iha Golokamitma Vidanta Ste Santakshati Viracha Katipaye She Guruvastika prayers, Gijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire materially. Since I have my respectful basin of the lotus feet, such spiritual master, who's an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. Over my respectful basin of the lotus feet, such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I, from my respectful basis, unto the lotus feet is such spiritual master. Spiritual master also offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, and as I say that there's lit, chew, drunk, and suck. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad, he is satisfied to offer my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastime of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. For my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting gopis who at different times make different tastes and arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master, to be honored, is much the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful basis unto the lotus feet is such a spiritual master who is the bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. So, offer my respectful basis on the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 35. Atmanam cha kuru shrestha Krishnena manaseksitam Yayangate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vivavala Atmanam, himself, cha, also, Kurushesta, O best amongst the Kurus, Krishnena, by Krishna, Manasa, by the mind, Iksitam, remembering, Dhyayan, thus thinking of, Gate, having gone, Bhagavate, of the devotee, Ruroda, cried loudly, Prema Vivala, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna while quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of him at the last moment. Although he thought of himself as insignificant, he was remembered by the Lord by his causeless mercy. Vidura accepted this as a great favor, and thus he cried. This crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Kalindya Katibihi Siddha Aho Bir Bharatar Sabha Prapadyata Swasaritam Yatra Mitra Suto Muni. Kalindya, on the bank of the Yamuna. Katibihi, a few. Sidhe, being so past. Ahobihi, days. Bharata Rishabha, O best of the Bharata dynasty. Prapadyata, reached. Swasaritam, the celestial water of the Ganges. Yatra, where? Mitra Sutta, the son of Mitra. Muni, sage. After passing a few days on the bank, a translation by Srila Prabhupada, after passing a few days on the bank of the river Yamuna, Vidura, the self-realized soul reached the bank of the Ganges, where the great sage Maitreya was situated. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the third canto, fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. Gaur Premanandi Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. In the Brahma Samhita it says, Pramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidayesu Vilokayati Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami. It's a very important statement by Lord Brahma, who says that when one has tears of love flowing from his eyes, love for Krishna flowing from his eyes, it melts the cataract of the eyes and permits one to see Krishna and Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world on a regular basis. So this is a mystery. This is transcendental mystery. And when we come to the stage of actually crying like Vidura, loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love, we become fully overwhelmed by love for Krishna. This is a very special, let's say, benediction that one reaches when they fully engage in devotional service. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita also, where it says, first of all it says, Naham praksa sarvasa yogamaya samanvritaha udoyam nabijananti lokamamajam avyayam. Krishna says, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So Krishna reserves the right not to be manifest to someone. But yet, he is very, very, let's say, protective of his devotee who's always engaged in devotional service. And eventually he gives that devotee the eyes to see him always. In other words, the devotee by virtue of always being engaged in devotional service can purify his senses, and thus his spiritual senses can begin to activate, and this is by the blessing of Krishna, and he's able to see Krishna on a regular basis within his heart. So, it may be argued, Prabhupada says in Purport to 725, since Krishna was present on this earth and was visible to everyone, then why isn't he manifest to everyone now? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present, there were only a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the assembly of Kurus, when Sisupala spoke against Krishna's being elected president of the assembly, Bhisma supported Krishna and proclaimed him to be the Supreme God. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the Supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, but for his pure devotees, all men consider him to be like themselves. Atmavan manyate jagat. They don't think that they say, well, I mean, he might be a little bit better than me, but I can catch up by doing some meditation or some asanas or whatever. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, but for his pure devotees, all men consider him to be like themselves. So, that is the previous verse, which says, Avyaktam Vyaktim apanam manyate mam abudaya parambhavam ajananto mamayavyam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So, Krishna's body is eternal in the past, the present, and the future. So, but yet he can expand himself into any form he wants. And all those forms are equal in potency to him in his original form. This is all perplexing to the materialists, not to the devotees, because they cultivate knowledge of Krishna on a daily basis by hearing and chanting his glories. So they're not flummoxed, meaning confused by Krishna's mutually contradictory activities. They're not, they don't speculate about Krishna, but yes, they do repeat bona fide knowledge of the acharyas. In that way they don't make any mistakes. Those mistakes in understanding who Krishna is are offensive. So the Mayavadis are regularly offensive to Krishna, and the atheists are regularly offensive to Krishna. And as it says in the 16th chapter, verse number 20, that such people are put continually into demoniac species, and they have very little chance of becoming devotees. In fact, the only chance they have is if they're able to be killed by Krishna, they can attain some level of liberation. But generally, they are always what you would call against Krishna. So therefore, they're always put into different demoniac species, birth after birth. Attaining repeated births amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Okay, so therefore, Krishna reserves the right not to be manifest to the non-devotees, but for the devotees, he gives them the eyes by which they can see him always. So this was the case of Vidura, of Maitreya, and also Sanjaya, Vyasadeva, and especially Brahma. The Brahma Samhita are verses all about Krishna and the spiritual world and about all the who's who in the material world. These are things that Brahma was actually seeing after he was purified by performing tapasya, and he pleased Krishna, so Krishna gave him the eyes to give descriptions of the spiritual world. He didn't know everything, but he knew the essential things, that he was the eternal servant of Krishna. Later on, more things were revealed to him. So, it says that Atapite deva padambuja dvaya prasada lisana grihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichiram vichinvan. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.29. This is in the purport of 7 point 24 of the Bhagavad Gita. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. This is a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One cannot, and then Prabhupada explains, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotees, non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. So, then in the same chapter, the verse, Kamaistaistar hitagyana prabhadyante nyadevaha tam tam niyatam astaya pakritya niyatak swaya. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. And Prabhupada says, it is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets, and the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Deva Yajo Yanti Mad Bhakta Yanti Mam Api. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are worshippers of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. You see, this is the nonsense of the Mayavadis. They talk about this imposition theory. That is, that the Lord does not have a body. He's not a person. That the Supreme Truth is only the Brahma Jyoti. But, just like we have a body imposed on us that covers our soul, they claim that Krishna has a body imposed on him when he appears in the material world, and that his body, like ours, is material. And this is one of the worst things you can say about Krishna. But they say it regularly, so therefore they are the worst aparadis of Krishna, or the first blasphemers of the Lord. From the study of Gita, does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal? No. You can understand that they have planets and they're persons, right? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. Yet they're reading Bhagavad Gita. The Mayavadis are reading Bhagavad Gita and lecturing on it. Yet they're sometimes reading Srimad Bhagavatam and lecture on it. And they're misrepresenting it completely, you see, because they're envious of Krishna. And then it says, they are all persons, Krishna, the demigods. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monist or Mayavadi contention that the ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It's a false theory, like everything else about Mayavadism, false theories. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the form of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that Lord Krishna is Satchitananda, eternal, blissful knowledge. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Anandamaya Vyasad, or by nature full of blissful pleasure, and that he is the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. But yet, he reserves the right not to reveal himself to the non-devotees. And therefore, the non-devotees are covered by the veil of Maya, and then Krishna, for them, is covered by the veil of the Brahma Jyoti. Therefore, they have to overcome these two veils in order to see Krishna. But they cannot do that by any jugglery or any type of speculation. The only way they can do that is to be engaged in devotional service under the supervision of genuine devotees. And eventually all their hallucinations and false theories can be wiped away by hearing the truth of Atma Tattva, the eternal soul, and its relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so there are many more important points to be made about this crying for Krishna. You cannot imitate it. Of course, there are people that imitate it. Like there was one so-called sadhu in Delhi. He was having regular meetings, and people would come, and when he would say something, tears would start flowing out of his eyes, and sometimes they would jump out into the audience. So there was one person, he was thinking, oh, my Gurudev, he's such an advanced devotee. So at one of these programs, he was hiding in the Guru's dressing room. And when the Guru finished his lecture, he came back to the dressing room, and then that devotee was secretly looking at him and seeing what he was doing, and he went like this. And he pulled out a big, hot, red chili from his nose. And then the devotee understood, oh, that's how he's crying so much, right? Because he stuffs this chili into his nose and his sinuses, you see. So he had a trick, you see, a very good trick. And the tears were flying out of his eyes. Right? Of course, they would fly out of your eyes too if you stuck a chili in your nose. What do you expect? So he was just imitating it. But Vidura was not imitating anything. He was genuinely crying out of love for the Lord. So we can't imitate these things. Of course, these phony people try and imitate, but they don't get very far. They trick a few people, and but eventually their ruse is found out in different ways. Just like this Nityananda, he is claiming that not Lord Nityananda, but the bogus Nityananda is claiming to be the present avatar of God on earth, right? And then this video came out on the internet and went all over the world of him having an illicit affair with a movie star, right? After giving a lecture and pretending that he's the avatar of Krishna, he goes into his private room, and then in comes this girl who's some Bollywood movie star, and then starts massaging him, and then they have illicit sex. The whole thing's on video, right? And so after that, there were riots in India. They were trying to burn down his ashrams, and it was a big mess. And then he sort of wiggled out of it by saying the whole thing was a setup. It was not true. It was a false video, blah, 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 you know. And his devotees were using this narrative and spreading it all over the world. And then it's sort of, he sort of became okay again. And then now he's being pursued by the Indian police for all kinds of illegal things that he's been doing. And now he's hiding out somewhere in South America or on an island. He claims he started his own country in this island off the coast of South America. So, you see, he's been completely debunked and basically castigated because he's a nonsense person. Right? So you can only cheat the people, some of the people for some of the time, but not all the people all the time. Eventually, a person's deviations are going to be found out, as in the case of this Nityananda and many other phony gurus who through the years have been cheating their disciples and the public. Asaram Baba and Asaram, what's his name? Asaram. Yeah, Asaram Baba, and many others. You know, he's in jail for murder. What kind of guru is that? Right? Still, people believe in him. Still, people believe in him. They riot and they do all kinds of crazy things. Okay, so this genuine crying for Krishna is a special thing. It's not, you cannot imitate it. But yet, the Sahajias, they imitate this. They'll cry, they'll swoon, they'll fall down and go into some trance, and they'll sing bhajans with a lot of elan, or a lot of energy, and they trick people, right? But actually, they're addicted to bad habits. They're smoking, they're eating meat, they're engaging in illicit activities. So there was one of those people that came here. At first, I thought he was, bona fide, because he chanted very nice Hare Krishna. But then I saw he had a girlfriend. He was engaged in all kinds of illicit activities. He had very bad habits. But we didn't see it right away. But eventually, we began to see it, and then I completely cut him off because he's nonsense. And these people are, they claim to be descendants of Nityananda or Advaitacharya, and they are Sahajias, and they make a living by performances. This guy was making a living by performances. He'd go around and chant Hare Krishna with his ektaraj, one string. Ektara, yeah. And he'd dance and jump up and down. Everyone be jumping up and down with him, and they feel a little bit of happiness, but he was a very bad guy. So we have to be very careful and use Shastric evidence to judge the activities of these people. We can't just say, oh, well, he's a pure devotee, he can drink and have illicit sex. No way. You cannot violate the four regulative principles and claim to be some kind of pure devotee. Did Prabhupada ever violate the four principles? No way. No. He was a genuine, pure devotee. Does Narada Muni violate the four regulative? No. Did Vidura violate the four regulative principles? No. Did Uddhava violate the regulative principles? No. None of them. Only the nonsense people violate the regulative principles. Okay. So, therefore, this is not a show that he's putting on. These are genuine tears of love for the Lord. And it says that Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of him at the last moment. So he was thinking, I'm just an insignificant person. But he was remembered by the Lord by his causeless mercy. And Vidura accepted this as a great favor, and thus he cried. This crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. Wow. It's wonderful statements by Prabhupada. And actually, this is further emphasized when we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says, Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram, I'm sorry, this is Shiksastikam. Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavan Buddho Kripaya Pada Pankajasti Taduli Sadrisam Vichintaya. It says, O my Lord, O Krishna, O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, but because of my fruitive acts, I have fallen in this horrible ocean of nescience or ignorance. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. So this is the humility of a devotee. He doesn't think, oh, I'm such a great person. He thinks, I am the lowest of the low, and my only hope is to get the mercy of the Lord. And therefore, he strictly follows the regulative principles and never violates them. So, mam chayovi bicharena bhakti yogina sevate sagunam samatityaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Because he's always following the regulative principles and never violates them, he comes to the level of Brahman, the spiritual level, where there's no more hankering and no more lamentation, and that he is equal to everyone. In other words, he doesn't say, oh, this person's low class, this person's high class. No. He says, I'm low class, they are all much better than me. So this is the humility, genuine humility of the devotee. He's not faking it. So one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, meaning he never falls down, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So Brahman level means that he's no longer influenced by the modes of material nature. Or as it says, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So this is the symptoms of a devotee who is Brahmabhulayas kalpate, elevated to the Brahman platform. So we should think about this carefully and judge ourselves and try and perfect our Krishna consciousness by understanding the exalted position that one can attain by surrendering to Krishna. Now, it seems to be an anomaly. How can you be a great person if you surrender to someone? Well, it depends who you surrender to. If you surrender to Putin or Biden, you're not going to become a great person. You're going to become a great fool. But if you surrender to Krishna, that surrender leads to you becoming a great person. And look at Vidura. Vidura thought he was insignificant, but Krishna thought of him at the last moment before he left this world. Vidura was overwhelmed. He didn't get puffed up by it. He became overwhelmed with love for the Lord. So these are all real symptoms of genuine devotees, that we have to hear about this on a regular basis, not to be fooled by the phonies who imitate being what you would call enlightened souls, but actually they're very low-class people. Okay, so what time is it?
7:03.
Huh?
7 o'clock and 3 minutes.
Okay, we'll stop right there. Tomorrow I have another big subject. I don't want to start it now. Are there any questions? Okay, so then,
Maharaj,
yes.
with the last verse we read, basically we said that, okay, as a pure devotee you should treat both your enemy as well as your friend at the same level. But so in that case, fine, like Brahmanas, they are like, but in terms of Kshatriya also, so it's very how it fit into, because as an enemy maybe they meant to fight, so you cannot treat as the same, like
Well, the
if they
Kshatriya he cannot really kill unless he's upset, unless he's mad, right? But no, the difference is a real Kshatriya will not be influenced by these emotions, happiness or distress, good or bad. The Kshatriya acts out of duty. That's what Arjuna learned from Krishna, that he was being emotional, therefore he's refusing to serve Krishna's order. But Krishna taught him to be dutiful. It's a duty. You cannot say, I'm not going to fight, or I'm going to kill this person. So just like Bhisma, he wanted to kill Sakuni. He wanted to kill him. He wanted to tear his arms off his body and kill him, right? But he didn't, because he listened, or he subordinated himself to Yudhisthira. And who said, we're not going to do anything, even though they were trying to strip Draupadi, and they were pulling her by her hair, right? So there's a difference between being emotionally involved in a situation as opposed to dutifully acting according to Shastric instructions. So the real Kshatriya acts out of duty. He doesn't hate his enemy. He will do whatever Krishna wants him to do. So, did he hate Asvatthama for killing 5 sons? Well, obviously, Krishna was egging him on to kill Asvatthama, but Draupadi said, no, don't do it, because I'm a mother, and I'm suffering now terribly because he killed my 5 children. But he has a mother also, and I don't want to cause the same pain to her. Well, that's an amazing way of looking at things, right? And eventually, she prevailed. And even Krishna said, okay, we have to listen to what she's saying. So therefore, without killing Asvatthama, we can kill him socially. So that was another form of killing, by ostracizing him from Vedic society. And he's still roaming around. He's cursed to stay alive to the end of the Kalpa, but always be an outsider. He's not allowed in Vedic society. So he's still alive today, right? And he's shunned. So that's worse than death, because death happens once, but staying alive and always being shunned, that just keeps going on and on and on. It's worse than death. Right? So acting dutifully is different than acting on the basis of emotions. So the devotee acts as a matter of duty, not prompted by the emotions.
So what you're saying, like the act as part of your duty is legitimate to doing this.
Well, the duty, you receive that from Krishna, right?
Only from Krishna, because
Yeah.
I'm trying
It's
to
not
give,
that you make it up on yourself.
Yeah.
You get it from Krishna.
yeah, I'm trying to get to that point, because I had a very big debate with one of.
You had a what?
There is
You
I
had
had
a-
a big debate with one of our devotee friend only. So there is some
A real
incidents-
devotee or just a so-called devotee?
No, real devotee only, but yeah. So
What
there
was the argument? What was
the argument was
debate?
like, so recently there's some incidents happened in India, like there is a BJP spokesperson, her name is Nupur Sharma, and her duty is to represent her party.
Oh yeah,
in
she
one of
said
the-
something that
yeah,
really
she said
enraged the
something
Muslims.
because the other guy provoked her to such an extent, she got so angry, and then like we are so
She insulted the Quran.
Quran. Yeah.
and
Not Quran, but she said something which is actually true to some extent, because he
so
married.
she insulted Muhammad.
It's not, yeah, but she said that okay, he married to the 7-year girl, old girl, and
Yeah, it
had
was
sex
child
with her.
child molestation.
Yeah, and had sex with her. So this is her statement, because I have heard that actual statement.
Yeah.
So, but that is true that he married to the son. And some of the scriptures, some of the guys they say. But anyway, that is apart. But I'm saying she was doing it, but everybody took it as like totally wrong and all those things. So, I mean, she was doing her duty, and out of her duty, actually, she said something.
Well, no, that was an insensitive thing to say. Even if it's true, it's still, she became angry. See, that's the difference. When you act out of duty, you're not being forced by anger. But when you're not acting out of duty, you get forced by anger and lust and things, and you say things that are very offensive, and it just creates a big problem. So in the case of Arjuna, he was emotional. He wasn't acting out of duty. He was emotional, so he refused to fight. Because behind that emotion was his attachment to sense gratification. Right? He did not see how he would be happy if he won or lost the battle. Therefore, he didn't want to fight. But that's his own personal sense gratification. Right? So there was nothing genuine, although it looked genuine. So, I'll be killing all these people. What's going to happen to their wives and children? And blah blah blah, which are all true statements. But in this particular case, where Krishna is ordering him, it's actually a sinful thing to say no to the Lord. But he did say no because he was materially attached. So that's not the culture of the Kshatriyas. They have to follow the principles of Dharma, right? Their occupational duty is to protect the innocent against the aggressors. So to understand acting out of duty as opposed to acting emotionally is a big subject. It's very important to understand this. Otherwise, we will never succeed in our devotional life. So basically, when Arjuna heard Bhagavad Gita, he decided to act according to Krishna's orders. If we act according to Krishna's order, just like 5,000 years ago, Krishna is saying, no meat, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling and speculation. But 5,000 years later, that's part of the culture today. Everyone's doing these, almost everyone is doing these things, right? And what is the result? The result is catastrophe. So many people are dying, so many people are ruining their lives by doing these 4 self-destructive things that Krishna warned 5,000 years ago. Don't do it. So you simply follow Krishna's instructions, you'll be free, you will act dutifully, as opposed to being forced by lust, anger, and greed. So that's the difference. Okay, we'll stop right there. Thank you. Hare Krishna. A good question. If you say, the Kshatriya has to be really angry and hate the enemy to kill them. No. You can do it out of duty, without that hatred and anger. But you're still, determined, because the duty overrides everything else. So Krishna tells him, when he tells Yudhisthira, say a lie, Yudhisthira doesn't do it, he's not acting out of duty. He's acting emotionally. He has a false concept of himself as a goody-goody guy, But actually, if the Lord orders him to do something, he should do it immediately as a matter of duty. Because of his hesitation, he had to see his brothers in hell and that he got devastated by that vision. And then he saw Duryodhana in Swarga, and Duryodhana and all his buddies. He got confused, right? And you know how stressful that would be, right? But that was because he didn't follow Krishna's order. He didn't act dutifully. He acted emotionally. Haribol. Where is the pujari? 7:15.
This is very subtle thing, Maharaj, acting out of duty versus emotion. The example you have given, Yudhishthira.
Yeah.
So subtle.
But we don't realize how much we're dictated to by lust, anger, and greed. These things are dictating to us. If someone's going to be if something's dictated to us, it should be Krishna's dictation, not our lust, anger, and greed.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma
Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate
Bandha Mohi Savadhana Mate
Jahara Prasade Vai E Bhavatoriya Jai
Janara Prasade Vai He Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Ho Jaha Hoite
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya Harna Kori Ho Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati Je prasade pure sarva asha चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिल जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय prakashito प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाइते वेदे गाय जहाँ रचरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आधम जनारा बंधु लोकेनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना हा प्रभु करो दया देओ मोरे पद छाया एबे जास गुशुक त्रिभुवाना प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना जय प्रभु बदा जय प्रभु बदा जय प्रभु बदा जय प्रभु बदा प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाशता देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Paravajika Chastata Sata Shri Shri Shrimad's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ananta Koti Vaishnava Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Prem Kaho Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakti Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Govardhan Shri Vrindavan Dan Mayapura Dan Jagadadpuri Dan Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vini ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanand. All glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavana ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Vedanta. Namaste, sir. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, we can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to the lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing with terror. Our spiritual master, trusting mercy, friend, poor, Lord and master of the words. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Hari Bol.